can India get to net zero? I'll start by saying the first thing that many of us probably know, the greenhouse gas emission is dominated by the well-to-do people in India and in the world. This is something, if you see, the top 1% is what is dominating the carbon dioxide. Then the next 9%. And bottom 50% hardly contributes anything. So this problem that the whole world faces is created by the rich people in India and the world. And in terms of per capita, therefore, we are only 103rd country. So one would say, well, India is not the primary contributor in one way. But who gets most affected? The affected is the one with the lowest income. 85%, do we know that 85% of Indian families today have a monthly income less than 25,000 rupees per month? That is a total household income for 85% of Indian families. They are the one who will get most affected. About 3 months, 4 months back, we had a flood in Chennai, not even in rural areas. And what happened? It was actually a slightly more than the average rains. Pradeep will correct me. I don't think it was abnormal rains. And yet, 30 to 40% of Chennai was submerged, not for 1 or 2 days, for 7 days. What is good this time is some of the well-to-do people living in high-income group urban housing also had to come by boat. In fact, many of the people working here came by boat for 7 days to reach the road. This happened about 3 to 4 months. And if you think this is not due to global warming, we are fooling ourselves. While India is 103rd in terms of per capita greenhouse gas emission, in terms of total GHG, we are already number 3. And as our GDP grows, our consumption is rising, and we are fast moving up. As we get richer, we consume more and start contributing more. We will soon become number 2. Therefore, India will be the prime contributor. Though lower income people are not, but India will be the prime contributor. So we cannot avoid this. India therefore must get to net zero at the earliest possible. But it must do that while growing its GDP. Why? Because we have very large number of people who are very, very low income. If you don't grow the GDP and 85% of families still lives with 25,000 rupees per month, we are going to be in sad state. So we cannot compromise that. And this is something that our government is also sort of saying, we cannot afford to not grow GDP. So R&D, innovation and governance comes there. Should get us there by 2047. I know our country's goal is 2070, but I think we can get there earlier. Let me also point out, doing this will cause major disruption. What should be there for the strategy? The well-to-do who contributes primarily, can they take the initiative? And they have enough money. And as long as there is a return of investment, and I count myself among those top people. Over the years, since I'm kind of retired, we have enough money. We can, therefore, as long as there is return on investment, I will find money, I will invest my 50 lakhs, 70 lakhs somewhere. I've got my provident fund, what will I do? So there is enough money in the country if things become commercially viable. So what should be the strategy? R&D strategy? Somehow get everything commercially viable, and that is what I learned from many of my colleagues, including Professor Gettu. And of course, there will be policy incentives and intervention will be required. Leave the investment to the well-to-do people. Government should focus to manage change. And I'll talk about what is the managed change. It should not drive the prime thing of net zero, because that's not what government's job is. But it should manage change, preserve and grow employment and GDP. Installed capacity of renewable energy in India is 25%. It's very often talked about. What we forget that in terms of energy, it's only 8%. Why? Because sun is not there 24 hours. Wind is not there 24 by 7. We must never forget. In fact, I don't know why we keep on talking about the 25% of our energy comes from renewable. It doesn't. Only 8% does. And we must recognize that as we even grow to 500 gigawatt, still we will be short. By the way, today renewable energy is the lowest cost, 2 rupee to 2 rupee 50 paise per kilowatt hour in terms of creating this energy. That is not artificial cost. This is the cost at which today plants which are setting up solar plant and wind plants are selling. It is lower than even that of the coal today. Coal is touching 4 rupees once you add postal. And oil and gas, of course, is extremely expensive. At this place, I calculate my rate. Last month, we touched 28 rupees per kilowatt hour using diesel. And we still continue to use that. Does India not have enough capacity for renewable? It has enough space for that? We have. That is not a problem. However, solar and wind electricity is not 24 by 7. It needs flexibility in terms of energy storage. So, the strategy should be that our high income group, it is a 65% of electricity is consumed by commercial sector, industries and HIG. They pay 7 rupees to 11 rupees. Can we focus on that? We find, and we are doing this experiment at Research Park, that we can bring solar and wind from outside and build storage out here, chilled water storage and lithium ion battery storage, and our cost will be below 8 rupees per kilowatt hour. Now, if we can do it, why can't everybody who belongs to the high income group, housing or industry or commercial complex do that? This is what we should attempt to do. What do we have to do? Remember that there are 4 stages. There is proving science. This is something people like IITians are very good at. That is the first step. But from there we need to go to pilot demonstration across sectors. The pilot demonstration is for 2 purposes. One, to prove technology viability and economic viability. That's a very, very important. Part of it has to be funded by the government and or by CSR. Part of it can be funded commercially. I don't see any problem that once you go beyond a certain stage, this cannot be funded. Early implementation, build market, there we may require some incentives from the government and some policy help. And scaled implementation is then all commercial. We'll grow our industry while doing this. These are the areas. Solar, wind, wheeling of RE, we are already there. Grid storage, we are already there. These things we are already there. There are areas where we need a lot of R&D. Carbon capture, cement production, green hydrogen in ammonia production, sequestration. I will leave it out here. I'm seeing my clock ticking. But in fact, later on, when this is discussed in detail, this presentation, by the way, make it available to all the group members and you will see that. What are the likely bottlenecks? And this is where the government is mostly required. Do you know that most of the recent investments in coal and mine in last 10 to 12 years has come from banks, and this also has large employment, and all these are threatened. Our power discoms are already in trouble. Almost all of them are bankrupt. Coal-based plant, 65% of that has come in last 10 years. They have not even recovered their investment and they are all in trouble. They are already running at about 55% times. 45% time they are not usable today. Auto industry plus ancillary industries, prime contributor to our GDP. That is in trouble. Oil sector, our crown sector, refining, distribution, all will be in trouble as we move towards renewable energy. So the bottleneck will come from there. Transition therefore requires careful change management. This is where people like Tripathi ji is good at. This is where help existing industries to transition to green. This should be the government focus without impacting GDP and employment, without impacting state powers and revenues. I see more conflict because coal mines are going to be shut down. Coal mines give revenue to the state power, it gives employment. So there is going to be more and more conflict between state and center. We need to manage change, and this is something that I hope IAS officers are good at. That's what should be our focus. Policies for making things work for those who can invest. That should be the focus of, that should be the second focus. Our focus should be to make everything commercially viable. India in the world needs to move towards net zero very rapidly. R&D to technology and economic viability plus to commercialization should be our aim. Focus on those who can raise capital if there is ROI. Banks will not deny me a loan for about ₹1 crore if I want to. And there, I am probably the bottommost of that top 3 to 5% who have plenty of money in the country. So we have plenty of money. Change management, preserving GDP and employment.